Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. A new LIAT is very much on the way. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Thursday, 6th October 2022. Details when we return.
Is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. A new LIAT is on the way with an MOU signed between the government of Antigua and the CFA Global subsidiary of Caribbean Tourism Group, a private investment entity involved in investments in travel, tourism and aviation. Tamika Rodney of HGP Nightly Regional News tells us more.
Under the just signed memorandum, CTG and LIAT International will deploy a fleet of small, medium, and large aircrafts, including Airbus A330, Airbus A320, and ATRs in passenger service to the Caribbean and South America, along with international travel routes from Europe. The MOU is in keeping with the commitment from the government of Antigua and Barbuda to ensure the restoration and return of commercial service of regional airline LIAT 2020. Central to the plan is developing international routes that will bring tourists and business persons from Asia and other parts of the world to the Caribbean using Antigua as a gateway. One of the proposed routes is from Frankfurt, Germany to Antigua, which could become a viable connection for visitors from China now that a visa waiver agreement between China and Antigua is set to be signed.
Turks and Caicos Islands are grappling with gang war and increase in murders linked to some activities of a Jamaican gang. The governor of that British overseas territory wants the Jamaican government to help bring the situation under control. More in this TVJ News item.
Now, the TCI governor addressed the legislature and indicated that the acts were associated with terrorism.
For TCI, it is related to Jamaican gangs and serious transnational crime rather than international terrorism. It remains ongoing and it will not stop unless we stop it. Several months ago, two local gangs, and yes, there is a very significant local element to this, two local gangs lost their leadership. One extremely violent local gang leader was shot dead by police while resisting arrest. The other, a Haitian gang leader, who the police had made 4 separate attempts to arrest in the shanty areas of Romy Yard, was killed by one of his own gang before he could be arrested. The vacuum and confusion this created, allowing a predominantly Jamaican gang with a relatively small footprint here to reinforce from Jamaica.
Now, TVJ News spoke with development economist Dr. Chris Stokes, who operates a business in the TCI. He is alarmed that the British overseas territory recorded 14 murders in 1 month. Dr. Stokes says TCI is not accustomed to such violence.
I grew up hearing from my father that persons died of old age. Of course, there has been occasional murderous violence, which I have suffered in a very personal way. But what we have seen now is unprecedented 14 murders in a single month, September, which is multiples of what has occurred over the last many years. And 3 so far in October, including a tourist passerby. I think it's time to understand that the problem is regional and global. It's not a time to point fingers. Jamaica has brought a lot to its Caribbean neighbors. Unfortunately, what we suffer here will no doubt spread and fester in other nations. And I think collectively, we need to apply ourselves to reclaiming the islands separately.
Over now to Trinidad and Tobago, where the Prime Minister says there is no oil boom, but promised to allow citizens to benefit from falling oil prices. Urvashi Tawari Rupnarayan of TV6 News has more.
Government has been forced to take the harsh but necessary decision to cut the fuel subsidy to a threshold of $1 billion. Tackling the issue of the increased price at the pump and the plethora of complaints on the local landscape, the Prime Minister tells citizens of plans which will allow them to benefit from falling prices.
At the end of the month, the government will look and see what was the average price of fuel during the month, and we'll post that for the month ahead. And then we'll do the same thing, average price, when the month ahead comes, end of the month.
He offers an example.
So if that average price was $85, premium will drop to $6.92, super to $6.66, but diesel will stay at $4.41 because we are keeping diesel with its 50 cents increase.
And if perchance the price drops further to say $75 per barrel,
premium will drop to $5.68 and super will drop to $5.43. So super between 87 and 75, the price will drop from $6.97 to $5.43. And Madam Speaker, I guarantee you, if the price falls as we anticipate it could, and these adjustments are made downward, you will hear nothing of the downward movement from our friends on the other side.
the PM says the Energy Ministry will make further announcements in the coming weeks. But removing the fuel subsidy, Dr. Rowley explains, was in fact an intention of a former UNC administration. He reads a 2012 address by former Finance Minister Larry Hawaii.
Therefore, within the next 4 to 5 years, which is 2012 to 2017, 12 and 5 is 17, it is now 2022. Most of the fuel subsidy will need to be taken out of the equation. That is the UNC Minister of Finance. But, Madam Speaker, he went on further. He said in Trinidad and Tobago, our electricity, water, fuel, and telecommunication prices are among the lowest in the world. As well as there is no land and building taxes, and health services and education up to tertiary education are also free. That was the UNC's justification and explanation for the condition in Trinidad and Tobago in 2012. But the copy, Madam Speaker, trying to incite public discord.
The Prime Minister says consideration will be given to giving some sort of relief to fishermen. He also took on the issue of the construction of a house for the Chief Justice.
They're coming to the Parliament and going to the media to make that an issue, that they're going to build a house for the Chief Justice. Not telling the other part of the story, that taxpayers are currently paying almost $1 million a year in rent. You who hate rent so much, especially when it involves Faris and his family, but you sold the Chief Justice house.
Taxpayers, he says, pays the monthly $56,000 bill for the CJ's accommodation. Prime Minister Rowley says he stands by the budget and criticized the opposition for offering no suggestions aside from inciting anarchy. Urvashi Tawari Rupnarayan, TV6 News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. When the PNM's internal elections are held, one political analyst believes that Dr. Keith Rowley will retain his hold on the leadership of the party in spite of a challenge from Karen Nunez Teixeira, a former Minister of Finance. Dr. Bishnu Raghunath was speaking on TV6's Morning Edition, and Nicole M. Romney brings that report.
Dr. Vishnu Raghunath says, despite claims by Mrs. Nunez Teixeira that she was approached by some in the party to contest the election, he is not convinced it will shift any ground. He tells us the machine, that is the PNM, does not operate that way.
Ms. Nunez Teixeira is going up, taking on an uphill battle, which it's very difficult, it's impossible to win. The rank and file of the PNM will not change their leadership, especially when the sitting leader is also the sitting prime minister. So that is the first context in which you have to say that this is probably an exercise in futility.
He believes that while there may be factions within the party, members are very discreet.
Bear in mind that the PNM is a party that never washes their dirty linen in public. And if Karen Nunes, the sheriff, believes that she could come outside there and give out this litany of woes within the PNM and the rank and file will simply gravitate towards that, I think she has to be real and understand that that's not the culture of the PNM.
Dr. Raghunath says there's always disagreement in political entities, but he also notes that the PNM seems to be working in cohesion at this time.
The leaders of the party, when I say the leaders, those are the forefront, the MPs, the ministers and so forth, continue to give their wholehearted support towards Pete Rowley.
The political analyst is of the view that the country will not be voting in the local government election this year, but that it will be called in 2024.
The current legislation allows us to have the election somewhere until at least the 12th of March. So even if you go until the 12th of March, you're not in any way having to seek any extensions or anything like that. So chances are immediately after the carnival, we could have the election. I don't see that as an issue at this point in time.
Nicole M. Romani, TV6 News.
St. Kitts and Nevis Attorney General has fired warning shots at those in public positions who abuse their power, got involved in corrupt practices, and those he described as unfriendly to the public treasury under the last Timothy Harris administration. Andre Huey of SKN Newsline reports.
Speaking at St. Kitts and Nevis Youth Parliament Association Skinniper Youth Forum this week, A.J. Wilkin was asked about what actions can be taken against persons who abuse their power while in public office. This was his response.
Decisions to prosecute for crimes under our Constitution is solely within the purview of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Governments can't decide whether to prosecute previous governments. For minor infractions, we can take persons before the Public Service Commission so that with the evidence that we have, and they could potentially be removed from the public service. Today, well, after yesterday and some things that I discovered, I might be publicly embarrassing some people, which might actually be worse than going to prison. I'm contemplating whether I should do that, and I'm minded more so about 70-30 to embarrass some people who might not have been corrupt, but were, I don't want to use the word I used earlier, but not very friendly towards our treasury, and I'm not going to tolerate that, and I'm going to embarrass some people. Also, we are considering appointing a special prosecutor that can engage auditors, independent auditors, to investigate some of the statutory corporations, and then that special prosecutor can then prepare reports to present to the DPP, who will then decide whether to prosecute or not. I think it's time we need to draw a line in the sand, and we need to make sure that we have a better country moving forward. I'm not afraid of anybody, and I'm saying that straight up. I'm not scared of anybody. I was hired to do a job, and I'm going to do that job. So some people should be shaking in their boots right now.
A day later, after making those remarks, a notice to the public was published on the AG's official Facebook page detailing payments made to a company that provided website and social media management services to the Attorney General's office and the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs under the previous administration. Payments were made of over 1.3 million EC dollars for the duration of the contract. The lifetime of the contract was from November 1st, 2019 to August 31st, 2020. The company continued to receive payments of $10,000 per month after the expiration of the contract. The notice continued. The notice disclosed that the services provided by the company will now be performed by the Department of Information Computer Technology. The public was advised to review the Procurement and Contract Administration Act of the Laws of St. Kitts and Nevis, which can be found on lawcommission.gov.kn. The notice concluded that the contract procurement process will be more transparent and strengthened in short order by legislative action. When contacted, the principal of the company refrained from commenting on the matter at this time. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
Hubbard's is once again innovating the way you shop with its new online store, providing 24-hour shopping convenience. You can shop now for appliances, hardware, houseware, building material, and more. Free delivery island-wide. Start shopping now at hubbardshardware.gd. Safe, convenient, reliable.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.